Hello, loves. Today I want to talk about returning to that place of love, returning to that place of peace and joy, which is our true nature, especially in those moments where we get emotionally triggered in our daily life. So we all have these moments where certain events or life experiences may occur that trigger us deeply and emotionally. And we all have different ways that emotion will come up in us. For some of us, it may come out as anger or frustration. For others, it may come up as fear, worry, stress. So whatever it is for you, today I want to offer some insight into those patterns as well as offer you a couple of tools to help return to that place of love, to help get back to your true nature as quickly as possible. So Gabby Bernstein talks about this as coming back to that place of love quickly. So she talks about a similar idea where no matter how long you've been on this path, just being on this path or being a teacher or being considered, kind of a highly advanced person on this path, it does not mean that you do not experience these same emotions, these same reactions anymore. All it means is that you've found tools, you've found a way to come back to that place of love quicker. You don't stay in those emotional states. Tony Robbins talks about a similar concept, and he talks about it in terms of a beautiful state. And he also offers a 90-second rule, which he himself practices, where he says that anytime any of those other emotions arise, anger, frustration, he allows himself to fully experience those emotions for 90 seconds and 90 seconds only, and then he returns to his beautiful state. So that each day we are living as much as possible in a beautiful state. Now, for many of us, especially starting out, it can take much longer than 90 seconds to return to that beautiful state. I know certainly for me, when I am really caught up in an emotionally charged reaction, it certainly takes me longer than 90 seconds. But it's a practice, and this is a practice that I have certainly been actively engaging in, and I invite you to as well. The Yoga Sutras of Patanjali also talk about a similar idea of Pratipaksha Bhavana, that as soon as a negative thought arises in the mind, we replace it just as quickly with a positive thought. So that as soon as a negative thought or emotion or feeling arises within us, just as quickly we return our focus to something positive, to something that more fully and deeply represents our true nature of love, peace, joy, and interconnectedness. The Bhagavad Gita talks about being alike in hot and cold, in pleasure and pain. So finding that equilibrium, right? Whether in hot or cold, whether experiencing pleasure or pain, essentially finding that beautiful state. Essentially continuing to live from our true nature. So how do we do this? How can we do this? Well, today I want to give you just 2 simple practices that I use very often in my life. And these are simple practices that I think and find are universally applicable. So the first is gratitude practice. So if you've been following along on my blogs, you know I talk about gratitude practice quite often, and that's because it has been such a powerful practice for me these past few years. When we're feeling grateful, When we are deeply in gratitude, we cannot feel fear or stress or worry. The light of gratitude dispels the darkness of negative emotional reactions. So simple gratitude practice. So when those emotions, when caught up in that emotional reaction, a practice would be to pause and first be aware of that reaction, not judging it, simply being aware and accepting that that is part of your emotional experience in that moment. And then choosing to not stay in that emotional reaction. Knowing that that emotional reaction is not you, it does not define you. It is simply an experience, a reaction that you are experiencing in that moment. And then, can you find something to be grateful for? Can you pause? Can you widen your perspective to look around and find one thing to be grateful for? And then can you allow your focus to settle on that one thing to be grateful for and allow yourself to experience it fully? And then notice how you feel. The second practice that I do often is I simply put my hands over my heart center, over my spiritual heart center. I close my eyes and I breathe into that space. I follow my breath as it comes in through my nose. And I imagine that breath moving down to that space of my heart center, that space where my hands are resting. And then I imagine that breath coming up and out through my nose again. And I just breathe deeply here, breathing with my awareness on my heart center, in and out, for 5 to 10 full deep breaths. And this practice automatically, naturally softens me into this heart space. It softens me into this space which energetically holds love, forgiveness, compassion. So please let me know your thoughts. If you decide to try out any of these practices, please let me know how they're working out for you by leaving a comment. And until next week, I am sending you so much love.